Good morning and welcome to day one of my final piece of my A-levels. So I didn't actually have to do this, but I decided to. So I have a blunt pencil, isn't that a great start? So here we have my outline done, and I obviously got overwhelmed by the size and decided to have a dance party. We're getting down to business. We're doing lots of colour mixing for this lemon, and it appears like we are adding freckles to the lemon skin. Slightly interesting and not what you would see on a lemon, so I decided to fix this by going over it with some light colours. And then we move on to start the cabbage, which is the hardest part of this painting, and never painted a cabbage before, but here we go. And I struggled to get the right colours. You can see lots of mixing going on there, and then we finally get the right colour and we make the marks on the cabbage. And as you can see, I found a hair in my cabbage painting. Obviously it's not a real cabbage, and so I had to pick this out very, very carefully, and then ended up just scraping out the whole painting. So So it looks like we've made a lot of progress with this cabbage. We've got lots of spidery, webby kind of vibes going on here. And then I will be moving on to the other side, but not before I do the centerpiece, the big stem as you may call it, that runs right down the middle. And we paint very, very artistically, I see. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands, clearly there was something wrong with them. I hope you enjoyed this speeded up process of me doing the cabbage, which took me longer than this sped up version. Here is a shot of me. Wow, isn't this some fashionable geezer right here? Look at that concentration face. And we show the palette because that's quite important. As this is a top-notch tutorial, I need to show you how I mix in the colours. So now we speed it up because we don't want you to get bored now. Clearly it's night time, and then the next day we peel off the cling film of our oil palette, and what is this called? Turpentine, yes. We wash the brush with the turpentine because obviously we cannot use water because it's oil paint. And then we get down to work for day 2 of final piece. Make sure to stay hydrated, kids. It's very, very easy to forget to drink your water, so you always want some water on the side ready for you to gulp down. And then finally, we're working on the other side of the cabbage. We're finally getting somewhere, guys. This is quite important progression we see. And this fast-paced speed up of our little spider webby thingies that called stems, I don't even know. But it's so satisfying to see this all unravel. Swiftly moving on to some courgettes, very stylish. So they started out not so great, and I honestly didn't know what I was doing. It was a very hard picture, and I shall insert a little image of the the picture that I was referencing. I believe it's now day 2 evening, and we are starting on the cauliflower. I've completed the courgettes and the snap peas. Oh, look, day 3. Gosh, guys, this is dragging on. This was a killer. So we are adding more paint to the palette and carrying on with the cauliflower. Here is a nice shot of my shoulders. I'm sure you can all very appreciate that. It was quite a sunny day and quite warm outside in the British weather. So we are moving on to starting the background, and it's actually a really exciting time. Actually, no, I take that back. We are still working on the cauliflower. Here we are adding hints of blues and browns to this cauliflower to create shadows, because it's important not to just stick to blacks. I actually don't use black at all. And here we are painting the background, finally. it's gonna start looking like a final piece now. So we are, what are we doing? We are just mixing black and brown to make dark colours.
I love him, but every day I'm changing. I don't know before he was.
Clearly I was starting to lose my mind and started singing along to Les Mis.
It shines like silver.
I can assure you, drawing lines without a ruler is difficult. And the painting of the background continues. It's quite hard to create this box-shaped form. And look at this. What a tragic scene. Doing the outlines over these vegetables is quite difficult. It takes a lot of concentration and precision, and this actually took me about 20 minutes, even though it looks like it took me about 5 seconds. I promise you it did not. It's a good thing I don't have grey hairs, otherwise I'd be totally exposing myself here. Now moving on to the lower end of the box, we use some lighter shades of grey. I don't know why I'm doing an Australian accent. It's quite fun, I must say. And outlining the cauliflower, this really gives it a nice shape, don't you think? Yes. And then we go over again with the background because you realise it's too dark, because silly Georgia. Oh, and we have changed positions, and you can see a wild Ginny and Luna in the background running about freely in their cage. I assure you it's ethical. Anyway, we speed up to about 1000%, and this might be day 4. I think it's day 4 out here in the desert, and here's a close-up of my paintings so far. Oh, zooming in on those details. Looks better from afar, I must say. Don't want to get too close. And as you can see, as a professional artist, I have an easel which consists of a wheelie chair and a Harry Potter jigsaw puzzle turned around. Quite professional. And so moving on to the morning of day 4, we are mixing and we are carrying on with some cauliflower because I'm sorry to say, but I accidentally spilled some turpentine over the cauliflower, so I've had to repaint quite a few parts of it. But we live and we learn, and we also learn that painting on this easel wasn't ideal, so I actually moved over to my desk again to add some more detail. And here we are on the home stretch as we paint the final details of this cauliflower, and it was such a long slog, and I had to have my coffee because I was slowly falling asleep and losing the will to live. This didn't take as long as you think. I actually timed it, and it took 8.5 hours to do the whole thing, so it's not actually me doing a full 4 days of painting. That would be torturous. So we are adding in the strings, which wasn't shown in the picture, I mean, but I thought I had to add it, otherwise it looks like the vegetables are floating, and clearly things don't defy gravity in this earth, so I had to show that it was not floating. And here we are cutting out the painting, and my, guillotine, wasn't big enough. So here we are, me majestically showing you my painting, quickly moving out that mess, and then here is the final piece. So I am very pleased with it. It took a lot of stress, but we got there in the end.